Welcome to the Influential Personal Brand Podcast. This is the place where we help mission-driven messengers just like you learn how to build and monetize your personal brand. My name is Rory Vaden, and I'm the co-founder of Brand Builders Group, a Hall of Fame speaker, and New York Times bestselling author. And this show is to help experts learn how to become more wealthy and well-known. I know you're going to love it. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. Hey, welcome back to the Influential Personal Brand Podcast. As you know, we want to bring you the stories of real life people who are making a difference in the world as mission-driven messengers. And today I'm excited to kind of meet with you a new friend of mine, Ben Greenfield, who is one of the, without a doubt, one of the most credible, most followed people online as it relates to health. He is a New York Times bestselling author. If I counted right, I think he has done 13 Ironmans, 100 races, has millions of people who follow his podcast, his social media, covers a wide variety of topics, has multiple different business models, all things we're going to get into today about how he's built that business, how he's built that brand, and what we have to learn from him. So, Ben, welcome to the show.
The best part of that introduction is you called me a real life person. That's good. It's better than interviewing the dead ones.
Well, that's true. They are more engaging. But I think, you know, in some ways it's like everyone's an influencer, everyone's a health influencer.
Yeah.
But to me there's a big difference. There's a threshold between, you know, I talk about things versus you study the science, you do the academic research, but then you also model and practice as like an endurance athlete.
Never had aspirations to be an influencer. That's all accidental.
Yeah. So tell us the story. Like, how did you go from? Because you were a multi-sport collegiate athlete: tennis, water polo, volleyball.
Yep.
And then you went from that. You are like into training, and then all of a sudden, somewhere along the way, you got into like teaching people health, and then more of science and biohacking, and now you're like one of the leading voices.
I'm just gonna sit here and let you tell my whole story. I think you nailed it. Take off my these. I just flew in from London a couple of days ago, and these glasses supposedly concentrate blue light from the environment to keep you awake.
Interesting.
So they're like the opposite of blue light blocking glasses. But they also make me look like a creepy stalker. I just realized on the podcast. So we're going to take those off
just a
for
side
now.
A side benefit, though.
Make eye contact. But they actually do. This is the first time I've used them after international travel, and they do work. Like in the past, what you would use for something like that is there are glasses that you can put on, and you press a little button on them, and they make bluish green light, which is the spectrum of sunlight that causes what's called the cortisol awakening response and gets your circadian rhythm back into action. And you can travel with these.
So when you're changing time zones.
So when you're changing time zones, basically you wear the blue light blocking glasses at night, but then if you want to kind of take it to the next level, you wear the blue light producing glasses in the morning. And it actually works really well. There's like, I travel a lot, and there's certain things for jet lag that are called Zeitgebers, which is one of the only German words that I know besides bratwurst, I guess. Zeitgeber, it means timekeeper. And timekeepers help you to align to a new time zone more quickly. And there's 4 of them. One of them is light. Another one is exercise, right? So doing a movement session in the morning sends your body a message that it's morning. And by the way,
I know that The Rock always works out like when he gets to a place. That's like one of the things.
Yeah, but he's not. You know, he works out like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whenever. He just works out.
There. Yeah, he's just a beast.
He just goes to the gym. But ideally, you work out in the morning because that jumpstarts your circadian rhythm. And actually, research as of 2 weeks ago showed that when you work out closer than 3 hours to bedtime, you actually have poorer sleep patterns, whether or not we're talking about jet lag or whatever.
Just even if you're at home.
Yeah, obviously. The best time to exercise is when you're going to exercise. But if you are able to get it done with at least 3 hours before you go to bed, it's better for sleep.
But if you do it in the morning, it'll realigns.
Exactly, realigns. Yeah. And the third one is food. So I do a lot of intermittent fasting.
Okay.
Not because it's magical for fat loss. Like, you know, the amount of calories you eat and how much you move is how you lose weight. But there's some pretty good data on going certain periods of time without eating and longevity markers. So for like anti-aging, for the turnover of your mitochondria and cleanup of the cells, having a certain period of time during each 24-hour cycle where you go without eating is generally a pretty good longevity principle. But When I travel, I don't do that. So when I'm at home in my normal time zone, I get up at some point early in the morning, I work out, then later on I have breakfast, and breakfast is always like 12 to 16 hours after dinner. So I have like a late breakfast.
Okay.
But when I travel, I eat and then go to the gym, because eating is a signal to your body, especially if you have protein in the meal, that again, you're aligning to the new circadian rhythm.
Fascinating.
And then the last one is temperature. So that means that, like a lot of people probably know.
So you said light, exercise, food.
Light, exercise, food, and then temperature. So a lot of people already know, like, you know, companies like 8 Sleep Mattress have made this really popular, right? You get a cooling surface. You sleep in a cold environment. You don't have a heavy, spicy meal before bed. Back to the exercise thing, you know, exercise right before bed. But when it comes to circadian alignment, it's warm in the morning, cool in the evening. So I don't take warm showers when I'm at home, but when I travel, this is great. It's my little treat when I travel. I get a nice, like, 5-minute steamy warm shower in the morning because it gets you back into your time zone more quickly.
Because you came from London straight super here cold at night. To Nashville.
Yeah, right. So I I travel a lot internationally for speaking, for events, for conferences, and so a big part of it is just like getting back on the time zone more quickly.
So, I mean, clearly just hearing you talk and being around you for a few minutes, it's like, whoa, like you were so into this stuff. Were you always just like drawn to like what now people would call biohacking glasses and like everything you're just talking about? Have you always been just drawn to that?
Great segue back to your original question that I didn't answer. I was a total nerd growing up. I was homeschooled K through 12 out in the sticks in North Idaho. You know, Christian, conservative family, played violin for 13 years, president of the chess club. You know, my happy place was the library. I wrote a fantasy fiction novel, like 400 pages long, by the time I was 13 years old.
Wild.
It just totally not a jock into the human sciences at all. And then my parents, and actually I like this principle, and I adopt this same principle in my house. Make your home a really fun place to be so that your kids and grandkids want to hang out and come over. Did you see Sahil Bloom's book, The 5 Types of Wealth?
Yeah.
Great book.
We're part of that.
Okay, you are. Okay.
Yep.
So great book, but one of the things I disagree with in his book is that the amount of time that you get to spend with your kids goes down, significantly decreased at a certain point in life after they're 18. That can be the case, but I think you can also create almost like this pad that your kids want to hang out at and stay home for.
It's so funny you're talking
over,
about
so
this.
That's like my objective.
But so for those of you that don't know, so Sahil Bloom, he talks about statistically for most people, once their kids hit like 18 and even like back to 14, it's like you've spent most of the time you're going to spend together.
Vice versa. If you're a kid, you want to see your parents like
once
a year or something.
But
like that.
we're building a house right now, and the first time we built a house, it was just me and AJ. We never planned on having kids, and now we have 2, and so we've spent 2 years building our new house. We're about to move in, and the entire process has been, her vision is exactly what you said. She's like, we're going to build a place that our kids want to come, their friends want to come, one day their grandkids will want to come. Is exactly
all the way down to putting the master bedroom on the 2nd floor, so the kids have to carry me up the stairs when I'm 90. So we have an obstacle course and a frisbee golf course, and we converted our barn into an indoor pickleball and basketball arena, and cornhole and bocce ball. But my parents, they kind of had the same thought pattern. Like, they built a pool, and they had us on 6 acres of land where there were like motorcycle tracks dug into the hillside with a tractor. We could take our dirt bikes out there. And they also built a tennis court and hired a tennis instructor to come over and teach me and my siblings. And I fell in freaking love with the sport of tennis. Like, it was the first sport I was actually good at. I felt like I could actually perform well as the nerdy homeschool kid in this brand new sport that I discovered. And that's when I got into running up and down the hills behind the house and going down to the sporting goods store, in town, and getting a pair of 10-pound dumbbells that I brought home and had no clue what to do with. So I just like lay on the edge of my bed and do curls because I figured they'd make my arms stronger for tennis, and started thinking more about, putting eggs in the pancake waffle mix so I could get extra protein. My dad's friend was the Washington State powerlifting champion, and my brother's best friend's dad was a professional bodybuilder, and both these guys kind of mentored me and started to teach me about how to build muscle, how to eat properly, all these things that no offense to homeschoolers. I homeschooled my kids. They're 17 years old now and they're done. But like physical education, the physical sciences, fitness, nutrition, some of that isn't heavily emphasized in the classical homeschooling curriculum. But I was just eating this stuff up.
Yeah. Nor is it in the traditional school system necessarily.
Yeah, now sadly, not anymore. Yeah. So I got to the point where I wanted to go to college and study exercise science. Like I was that into it. My parents were like shocked because they thought I was going to be like an author or a pastor or like a fantasy computer game programmer or something like that. Like, either a very nerdy or just like classical intellectual position. And I walked onto the tennis team, the college tennis team at Lewis Clark State College in Lewiston, Idaho. Just like all the other student athletes, declared my major as exercise science and began to study like anatomy and physiology and biomechanics. And long story short, is I got my degree in exercise physiology and biomechanics. And physiology is just like a study of all the different pathways in the body that create energy and how you train for things like fat loss, muscle gain, oxygen capacity, etc. And along that path, I even made the decision that I wanted to go to medical school. So I applied and was accepted to 6 different medical schools, took the MCATs, did the entire pre-med course route.
So you were heading down that path.
Totally headed down the path of wanting to go into sports medicine or orthopedic surgery. And I did not get into 2 programs that I really wanted to. They were specifically Duke and UPenn's MD PhD programs. I got a declination letter from both of them and thought, well, I could probably make myself a little bit more impressive on paper and reapply. So I took a job in the private sector after I got my master's degree selling hips and knees, like hip and knee surgical sales for a company called Biomed.
But you got your master's degree.
Washington. Yeah.
You were on that path.
So went on, started working in the private sector, and hopefully this is a sponsor of your company because I'm holding it up now.
It's not, but we should.
Well, they should be now.
We drink that stuff all the time.
They're great. They're lemon perfect. I had a total distaste in my mouth for everything related to allopathic and modern medicine after like 9 months in that gig.
Interesting.
Hated it. I was standing there with a laser pointer teaching surgeons how to install overpriced hips and knees into people that for the most part would have been better served through the type of preventive principles I'd spent the past 5 years learning, right? Like fitness, nutrition, movement, healthy eating, good lifestyle, sunshine.
And this is something that I think there is this like epidemic of distrust with modern healthcare, which is just, it's really like, it is spreading, and it has hit our house hard. It's like, we literally don't know who to trust because it's like, we've got so many biohacking friends and clients, and then we've got like all these traditional like medical people, and it's like, oh man, and then you've got like ChatGPT and the internet and all
my counsel is don't trust either of them. There's a lot of myopic and dogmatic opinions in both allopathic and natural medicine. I take everything with a grain of salt. And even the Mayhaw movement, I mean, not to rabbit hole too much, I wish there was a greater emphasis on moving more and eating less, and a little bit less of an emphasis on like artificial sweeteners and red food dyes, and primarily appealing to like, millionaire mommies who shop at Whole Foods. Like there's a big part of the movement that is kind of focused on the things that are pretty good for Instagram clicks, but I think there needs to be a little bit more of an emphasis on just like getting outside, lifting heavy stuff, not stuffing your mouth with so much food.
On that topic of influence, right? So when did you start migrating online? So you have this distaste, you go, I have this knowledge, and then I'm like in this profession.
Like walked across the street from the apartment I was living in at the time, slapped my resume down on the desk of the Liberty Lake Athletic Club in Washington State and asked for a job. And at that point I had a really good resume because I'd been like personal training all through college, doing nutrition coaching, managing the wellness program at University of Idaho. I had all the the student athlete profiling. I had the pre-med stuff. So they hired me as the personal training manager at the gym. So I spent a couple years at that job. I quit my job in surgical sales. I never reapplied to medical school. And while I was there working at the gym, I became a fan of some like the OG guys in the fitness industry, like who was big back then? Ryan Lee, Joel Marion, like a lot of these guys that had just figured out how to start, making money on the internet and writing newsletters and running group training programs, and monetizing a fitness facility in a manner a little bit different than the traditional just buy a gym membership and personal training type of scenario.
Okay.
So I'm studying these guys. I'm starting group exercise programs, upselling people into 3, 6, 12-month concierge style personal training programs that are bringing in a lot of revenue. And
is this a digital marketing? Is this really digital marketing or more
in person? I started a newsletter. This was early on in the digital marketing, but I started a newsletter for the sort of in 2002.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is still very early, digital online marketing.
Yeah, but I mean, I even had my mom follow me out to the park and we shot a bunch of videos, and I wrote like an online ebook, and had that up on what was ClickBank, and was selling that via PayPal on the website. So I had a little bit of the digital marketing going on, but that was a total side project.
Okay.
What happened was one of my clients' husbands, Dr. P.Z. Pierce, who was the head physician for Ironman Triathlon and Rock and Roll Marathon, approached me with the idea of launching a one-stop shop for sports medicine called Champion Sports Medicine, where we'd have your physical therapist, your chiropractic docs, your massage therapist, your personal trainer, everybody all under one roof. And over the course of a year,
again,
we did that.
For an in-person facility?
In person, yeah. We launched that facility, and then I actually launched a sister facility in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and that's when I became pretty successful in the personal training industry. I mean, we had doctors all over the Spokane, Coeur d'Alene region referring their patients to us. I was managing the entire facility. We were doing early on biohacking, like platelet-rich plasma injections and high-speed video camera analysis of gait, and we would have masks people would wear when they came in to measure how many calories they were burning, what their VO2 max was. Because I've always been very into the pointy cutting edge of almost like the gearhead aspects of anything I do, whether it's triathlon or pickleball or training or whatever. So long story short is about 2 years into operating those gyms, and I still continue to write a newsletter, operate a little bit of a website, and I was doing travel blogging. I was racing all over the world as an Ironman triathlete, and I had sponsors early on in the day, even affiliates. And so between running the gyms and then traveling and generating some side income with affiliate marketing via my travel writing, that was my gig. In 2008, I was voted as America's top personal trainer, and that really thrust me into the limelight of being on the cover of fitness magazines and beginning to speak at conferences. I think it was actually at Bedros Koulian's conference that I was speaking at about how to make money running a brick and mortar personal training studio. That the shift that you're asking about occurred, the shift into online influencing.
So that's a moment you get a speaking invitation to go speak at an event, and you're like, I look back in my life and go, that was the moment that I started a hard
kind of. But the reason is that my wife was with me at that event, and she was pregnant, and she was pregnant with twins. And my typical day, Rory, at the time was I was up at 4 a.m., riding my bike 12 miles to the gym, training clients till noon, heading to the pool, swim training for Ironman, coming back to the gym, training clients all day, getting done, lifting weights, riding my bike back home, going for a run, having a quick dinner with my wife, going back into the office, writing my newsletter, doing my online programming, going to bed, sleeping about 4 to 5 hours a night. And that was my life for 3 years.
Wow.
So now I'm at this event speaking, and the way that I was raised is that I valued and still value the idea of being a present father and husband. And I saw the writing on the wall that there was no way that the life I was living at that point, which was making me really good money, and I was famous in my own little niche of the personal training industry, was not going to work for me to be the dad and the husband that I wanted to be. And I remember exactly who it was. This guy came up, and they called him the $1 Million Man, and he gave a talk. I think his talk was on VSLs. It was on VSLs or just sales letters in general. It was Vince Del Monte. And so Vince gets up and gives a talk, and I'm sitting there in the audience with this clipboard, just taking copious notes, because all I'd done at that point was just like dabbled in the whole internet marketing industry. Like I had a little ebook, I had a newsletter, I had started a podcast. There were like four podcasts. There was like Jillian Michaels, Rob Wolf, like 3 or 4 podcasts. Back when you had to code your own RSS feed and submit it to Apple and wait 2 weeks, and if it was over 100 megabytes, it'd break, and you'd have to use an RSS feed fixer to resubmit. But I would sit there in my office at the personal training studio, just with my little computer flipped open, webcam, and record podcasts. And they're mostly just about exercise science. So
yeah, but you were also on that, to your point about being a gearhead, like you were also on the cutting edge of digital marketing and testing things and going to conferences and learning from.
So I like to do this stuff. My sons are 17. My podcast is 18 years old, right? So even before this point, I was into the idea of spreading my message using this thing called the internet, but had never thought about like doing the type of thing that you do, which is like, oh, here's the system, here's the process, here's like the plug and play steps that you follow, and when you do it this way, it actually works, versus just like throwing noodles at the wall and seeing what sticks. And so I sat there next to my wife in the audience, listening to Vince with this little yellow legal notepad, writing down every step that he was presenting about how to do like a long form sales letter for a website for a digital information product. I spent the next 8 months working on what I called the triathlon dominator package. So I hooked up with disc.com in Texas. We had a $197 physical package, $97 digital package. I took everything I knew about Ironman training, because I was like a name in the endurance sports industry, and I was known as the minimalist training guy, the guy who could get you really good results but still leave you with plenty of time for your social life, for your friends, for your family, for your other hobbies, for your career. So I designed this Ironman training program that promised to get you across the finish line of an Ironman triathlon with a smile on your face and still have time left over for your family, for your friends, for your social life, for your career, for your hobbies.
So therein lies that beginning of real optimization. And
well, yeah, my harebrained idea. Well, first of all, as I was working on this program, I drove up and raced the short course world championships for triathlon in Vancouver, BC, and all the way up and all the way back, I listened to a relatively new audiobook by this guy named Tim Ferriss called 4 Hour Work Week. At that point, I had never actually really hired anybody besides some college interns at my personal training gym to help train clients. So I hired my first VA, and one of her first jobs was to get all the information for every triathlon club and triathlon coach in the U.S. so that I could contact them so that they could sign up to be an affiliate for the program. Every Friday, I spent 4 hours on this old thing called forums, where you used to actually be able to post helpful advice and have your link in the bio and get pretty good clicks back to your website. And I would literally just spend hours and hours replying to people, have the little link in the bio back to the Triathlon Dominator opt-in page. All of this was leading up to Ironman Hawaii World Championships, where I was going to race.
Okay, what year is this now?
This would have been 2008.
So okay.
I was
That's still super early
to
be doing opt-in pages and stuff.
I was doing. I had tweets pre-scheduled for here's where I'm at in the race, and I'd use the Triathlon Dominator plan, and I feel great, and here's what I was eating. I got this out of the nutrition package from the Triathlon Dominator plan. All my affiliates were ready to mail out that week, and I wanted to launch that week because that's the biggest week in triathlon, the Ironman Hawaii World Championships. So, long story short is that week from the race to 6 days after the race, I pulled in about $48,000. Now, for me at the time, that was basically about half as much as I was making as a personal trainer in a year working my ass off. Yeah. And all I'd really done was take the information up inside my head, put it digitally on the internet, and created a program that actually helped people and got them results. And I realized that I could do that for what I knew about marathoning and swimming and knee pain and back pain. So within 4 months after racing Ironman Hawaii and successfully launching that product, I had moved all my clients onto other personal trainers in the community. I had sold my studio equipment, ended my leases, moved into a home office, and started full-time doing a lot of what I do now, right? Continued on the podcast, started doing online coaching, writing, published my first and only New York Times bestselling book called Beyond Training, which was, I think that was 2012, I believe. But that's what shifted me into the online space, was wanting to change up my lifestyle and be a stay-at-home dad, homeschool my kids, and just kind of start a new chapter in life. So,
what's the biggest mistake you've made online? You've been in the online game. You've been in the online game for a long time.
I mean, like, probably the mistake that wouldn't surprise a lot of people knowing how entrepreneurs operate, but like trying to do it all myself, right? So I ran, all my own PPC campaigns and wrote all my own copy and did all my own affiliate management and programmed all my own websites and coded my own WordPress theme. It just did everything. Which, in retrospect, I think you could make a case that if you know how to do a lot of that stuff, if you're getting screwed over by somebody else who you're paying to do it. But, like, biggest mistake was not hiring early and hiring often.
When did you start building? This is a good question for everybody. When's the right time to start building a team when you're building your personal brand, or when did you finally do it?
Well, I don't know what the right time is, but when I basically managed my online coaching, my writing, my podcast, which I recorded and edited myself, literally GarageBand for years and years, all the way up until the point where I decided that I wanted some kind of a brand that existed outside of just me, because I recognized that I couldn't even take a day off, because the entire thing was just Ben Greenfield coaching and Ben Greenfield supplements and Ben Greenfield's triathlon riding, and I was even taking groups of athletes around the world on like triathlon tours of Thailand and booking everybody's hotel and plane flights. So I've always been into creating multiple streams of income, but it was pretty much just like me and one Filipino VA and her family, and that was about it until I reached the point where I wanted to start a brand, and I was white labeling. It wasn't really white labeling. Basically, I wrote a PHP script that would allow people to go to my website and make an order for the supplements that I was recommending to people for racing triathlon.
Okay. And
then that script would go to the manufacturer's website, and then they would ship that order. So it was kind of like an early version of drop shipping. And the reason people would do this for me was because these were my sponsors. Like, I was a race car. Like, I had products on my jersey and on my website and in my travel blog. So I worked with a lot of different supplement companies. But then
you were actually doing direct sales for them. I mean, affiliate,
basically. Yeah, basically it was kind of like affiliate sales, but with much higher margins. So I wanted to start my own supplements company because I was seeing how successful a lot of these companies were. And
a lot of them sold for
ideas for formulations.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, a lot. So at the time, the supplements branch of what I did was called Greenfield Fitness Systems.
Mm-hmm. Because you're still in this business today.
Literally, rinky-dink thing out of my home office and garage. Huh. So I hired this branding agency out of Boulder, Colorado, to come to my house for a 2-day intensive where we came up with the concept of Ki, life force, energy. We spelled it K-I, and I launched a company called Kion. I didn't wind up working that long with the branding agency, but I basically headhunted one guy who I really got along with, who was incredible. His name was Angelo. He's now the CEO of that company, Kion, based out of Boulder, Colorado. And so we started that company, I think about 7 years ago. And that's just like a standalone supplements company. I'm still majority owner. I don't have a lot of direct involvement besides occasional calls with Angelo. So now I have the supplements company, and then besides that, speaking, coaching, podcasting with monetization of the podcast.
So walk me through how you make money today on a percentage basis. What percentage of your income comes from speaking, books,
I don't know exact percentages by far. Kion would outpace everything.
Really?
I mean, yeah.
It's a real business with a real I mean, that's a product that
It's a I mean, that's like Kion is a math company. I mean, that's just we do all direct to consumer and Amazon. We don't do wholesale. We don't do retail. We don't do shelf space. We don't want to deal with product out of stock or expiry dates, and we want last click acquisition knowledge of where every single purchase comes from. So we do, like, I think last report we were at like 29.5% net profit with Kion, with a sizable
and this is like direct to checkout. You own, control the whole process. The customer,
exactly. The ingredients, the formulation, and
so you hired a formulator to help you put this together. You use it yourself.
And I formulate also. Like, I formulate for a lot of companies, but Kion is like, this is what I think is the secret sauce in the supplements industry. Is a lot of people will start a supplements company and have an idea for like super complex formulas that look really sexy and look really good and have like the 18 different things that are going to help you to live a really long time. But it's hard to source those raw ingredients, keep them all in stock. If one thing disappears, a lot of times you are replacing it with a less expensive ingredient. A lot of times you got to have a proprietary formula, which is not transparent to the customer, just in case you're low on one item and you have to adjust another. And it's expensive and it's risky and it looks cool from the outside. But what we focus on at Kion are super simple supplements that just work and are clean and fit base needs, like whey protein, creatine, and not like fancy creatine with unicorn tears and all the just like pure plain old creatine monohydrate, coffee, amino acids. That's our top selling product. Like, our wedge in the market, like 10x sales over everything else, is just amino acids. And people like them because they help you to gain muscle even if you're not exercising. They help with your brain. Like,
one thing that's interesting about what you're saying about that, which I think has been a trend but will continue to be a trend in AI, is going, it's a simple supplement I could get anywhere, but people, I suspect, they buy it from Ben Greenfield because they trust Ben, and they go, yeah, there's 100 versions of this simple product, but I want the one that Ben says is the one.
Yeah, that I say is the one, and that has the subtle nuances figured out, like where the purest form come from. Do the ratios in the amino acids actually mimic what's in human skeletal muscle? And did we throw in sucralose and acesulfame, potassium, or did we keep it clean? So the basic idea with the supplements company is it's basic, it's easy, it's predictable. And you asked me in terms of percentage.
Like you
of
said,
revenue,
it was a math
definitely,
company.
Yeah, it's basically just a math company.
Okay.
And
you're just talking about a formula of how much we spend on ad and what the cost per click is, and the conversions.
Very similar to what you were describing for webinars yesterday, and knowing your ROI on a webinar is pretty much a very similar thing for a supplement company. So that would be the top source of revenue. Podcasts, advertising, and I'd also, how do I explain this? So if you were to come to me and want me as an influencer to represent your brand, your product,
which is big money in the health space, I feel like that's big.
It is. You typically are not just going to buy, let's say, like 4 weeks of a pre-roll podcast ad, or 12 weeks of like alternating pre-roll and mid-roll to split test what works. You're also typically buying stories, posts, newsletter, either dedicated newsletters, or I have a weekly Roundup Friday newsletter where you're getting exposure in that. All social media channels. So typically, like,
you're selling a package.
Like, as an influencer, like, a lot of people think, and this is true sometimes, that an influencer is just like, you write me a check and I do an Instagram story about your product. I'm more selling packages that get a business exposure across a variety of channels.
Your whole platform.
The podcast, the YouTube channel, YouTube Shorts, Reels, tweets, the newsletter, the weekly roundup. So I can offer a lot to a company when it comes to how much exposure that they're getting. So the more channels that you're active on, the more you can command as an influencer in terms of actual income. And I don't run any of this myself, right? Like, I have a partnerships manager and a social media manager and a CEO, and basically now all I do is and this is what I love about my job. I just vet and try cool products, and then if I like them, develop a relationship with a company where I'm getting the word out about them.
Yeah.
But
How do you do that?
That's a
balance?
significant source of revenue. Also, it's just like ad packages that companies are signing up through.
So it's not really a podcast. It's just like sponsorships or like an ad package.
Right. I use the knowledge up inside my head to vet products, figure out if they're good, try them out, test them, do the whole immersive journalism thing, put them through the ringer. And then if I like them, give the thumbs up and the green light on them, and then people get to advertise on the podcast.
So you won't do it unless you've used it. Like you won't.
Oh, absolutely not. And you would be shocked. I mean, you probably wouldn't be shocked at how much goes on in the industry in terms of people just like holding up a product I won't even do a podcast with an author of a book that I haven't actually read cover to cover. Like I am very picky about knowing exactly what it is that I'm talking to my audience about. But I also love to tinker and investigate and try new things. And I literally have my entire team knows you don't book anything on my calendar from 3 to 4 p.m. because I'm in my little lab trying stuff out. I don't book most calls till like 10 a.m. because a lot of my job is just like testing and trying. And part of it is the whole like biohacking immersive journalistic shtick too, right? I've done plasma replacement therapy in Austin, Texas, the only state where it's legal, and blood filtration in Tijuana, and gene therapy in Mexico, and full body like stem cell surgeries. Yeah,
your own little version of a crash dummy, guinea pig.
I'm a Christian, and I do believe that we need to take good care of this vessel that God has given us to live out our purpose in life. And so a lot of people think that I just go out and do anything, but in reality, I put a great deal of research and read a lot of studies before I let anyone come near me with a needle, or try a protocol. But
same
that
thing, you're not
feeds
talking
into the whole
about stuff.
influencer thing, because I'm not just I'm out there doing these things, right? Like if I'm talking about a workout tool, like I put blood, sweat, and tears into that thing for 3 months before I'm actually mentioning it on a podcast or doing an ad package with them. But that's a source of revenue. That would probably be the second biggest source of revenue.
Fascinating.
And then, I'm doing 2 podcasts a week for 18 years.
How long are they?
An hour.
All of them are an hour long? Yeah. That's a lot.
50 to 75 minutes. So yeah, it's, between that and the actual entirety of the package that someone can sign up for, it does become a significant source of revenue. And that's kind of like
your media
when I
company.
said I never meant to be an influencer, like that part of my company, I never all I wanted to do was just like talk to cool people who would normally never give me the time of day, get to pick their brains and turn around and tell people about it. And now it turned into its own kind of separate side business because people want to advertise on that content medium.
Well, the episodes that I've listened to, they're very technical.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe it as a layman in the medical realm. Like they're extremely technical and scientific. You're using terms that I'm like, well, I don't even know what that term means.
Yeah.
So
I should probably fix that.
It's real. No, I think just since we kind of became friends is really when I started. I've never been into biohacking and really other than being I want to be healthy and very base level, but I've never been an endurance athlete, push myself to the max.
There's a lot of deep dark rabbit holes.
There's a lot of
people Ben, why are you talking about freaking smearing coffee grounds in your head and putting a red light helmet on to grow your hair? And I'm like, well, because having done this for so long, I covered bench pressing and how to run a 5K in the first 20 episodes. You kind of move on to
the thing that's going on
so.
in my life, this is I had knee surgery. I was playing wiffle ball with my kids, tore my meniscus, so in 2 spots. I go and I talk to the surgeon, and there's you need surgery. Okay. And they're like, you'll be better in a few weeks, 8 to 12 weeks full recovery. And it's I'm going on month 5. I can't walk down the stairs yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so what's happened? So I've got 15 people going, why aren't you using peptides? I'm like, what's a peptide? Yeah. They're like, go get BPC 157 or whatever it is. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And they're just like, go get this.
They
I'm
all
like,
have R2D2 Star Wars.
Yeah.
Names. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what this is. And then and then I met you, and then and then they were like, I had a couple friends who were like, you need to listen to the Ben Greenfield episode on that. I'm like, that's so funny. We just kind of became friends, and that's what, and I think that's happening more is people are going that zeitgeist in the general population is like, look at alternative things more than just going to traditional.
Yeah, look at alternative things. And when it comes to podcasting, when you have your your vocal worm inside the ear of someone for an hour twice a week, when they're lifting weights at the gym, there is a trust relationship that's built because they know, oh, I've talked to people for 18 years about this, and it's my job to dig into this stuff, and I've jammed half these needles into my own knee, and tried these different rehab programs. And back to the knee thing, something as simple as if you source it properly, BPC 157 and TB 500 combined with something like Ben Patrick's knees over toes strengthening program is transformative for a lot of people who just have basic knee issues and need to get back in action. So you should listen to my podcast with him, Ben Patrick.
Okay,
one of the best guys for rehabbing the knees.
I will go listen to it, Ben Patrick.
And then the other sources of income and why I'm sitting here in this chair with you would be books and speaking. Two areas that I will admit I have kind of severely underplayed. Like I speak in the tiny little echo chamber that is like health conferences, with the occasional lucky how'd they find out about me, keynote that I might give to a financial group or whatever. But I love to be on stage. I love to command a stage. I love to speak. I was on speech and debate in college. I've always loved to deliver my message in a powerful way from stage. And I have I shouldn't say rarely, but I have, I've inadequately focused on developing that part of my business. And I also have, when it comes to books, written for me, which means I like big technical coffee table style 700-page books with every last piece of information that you'd ever need to know. And it's great when it arrives at my house, since this work of art, but it doesn't do a great deal of favors for the book scan numbers. And so if there's two reasons that you and I are sitting here and why we met and why I came to you is I want to be a better author and a better speaker. But those are sources of revenue for me.
Yes. So, yeah. Well, I love that, because it's like, I don't know a lot about a lot, but I know a lot about a couple things, and those are two things that
you've got the reputation.
we know a lot about. So okay, so let's talk about that, right? Like, we have people listen to this show that have hired me to speak and all this kind of thing, and so I think the connection point there to me is to go, what do entrepreneurs and employees and entrepreneurs and executives, what do they need to be doing? What do they need to know about health? That's not the 700-page version, but it's like, all right, what are the things that I need to be doing right now to optimize my performance as an executive, as an entrepreneur?
Right.
What are some?
How do I get the body and brain that I need for boundless energy at my beck and call all day long?
So and that's it. It's like, it may not be bodybuilding.
The impact
I just want
that I want to make in life.
Yes,
not to be a bodybuilder. And if you, let me give you an example. If you were to read, let's say, like Men's Health or Women's Health magazine or most popular literature in the health and fitness world, you would come across a lot of advice, and admittedly pretty good advice, about how to move well and how to eat well. Like, here's the diets that generally work well for people, and here's the weight training or the cardiovascular programs that you can do. And that is the message that a lot of people hear when it comes to health, is I need to move more and eat less, or move differently and eat differently. And that is 100% true. Like that's a big part of it. But there are so many people, and this is why this is why the title of my book, that first successful book that I wrote, was called Beyond Training, because a lot of people aren't aware of all the things that go beyond training. And I probably could have also called it Beyond Training and Eating, because there's a lot of stuff that goes beyond just diet and fitness. So, for example, you and I are a battery. Our bodies are batteries. Every single one of our cells operate with a specific electrochemical gradient across the membrane of the cell, and it should be slightly negatively charged on the inside and slightly positively charged on the outside. And if your body's battery is drained, then no matter how good you're eating and how much you're exercising, you're still going to have energy deficits. Now, there are certain things that will charge up the body's battery that we can take from ancestral wisdom and nature, or that we can take from modern science and biohacking. These are things you're probably familiar with. red light, like red light panels, red light therapy, getting adequate amounts of sunlight. Photons of light actually help your body to produce more ATP.
So this is infrared sauna?
This would be infrared sauna. This would be red light bed. This would be sunlight. This would be red light panels. So that would be an example of biohacking to help the body produce more ATP. And with the most simple example being like get outside in the sunshine. I don't know if you noticed, but like every time we had a break, I like went outside and got at least 5 minutes of vitamin D, and not just vitamin D, but photons of light.
Chair and you were in the back of the room, like laying down, stretching hips and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I move a lot. And an insider tip: I've also taken methylene blue every morning because when I'm traveling and I'm jet lagged, what happens is methylene blue. It's a supplement that you can take when photons of light hit your skin, get absorbed into your bloodstream. Methylene blue attaches to a part of your mitochondria that speeds up the production of ATP in reaction to light. Right, so that would be an example of a 1-2 combo to charge the body's battery up. That, like, if let's say an entrepreneur who is already eating well and moving well were to just do something like that, they would have more energy. Another example would be every time lightning strikes the surface of the planet or solar radiation bombards the planet, it collects what are called negative ions, and your skin is conductive material. So when your hands hit the ground, or when your bare feet are walking on the sand on the beach, or when you lay on your back on the backyard, or even on a conductive surface like downstairs, or you saw me like stretching on the ground, there's concrete under that ground, that's a conductive surface. I'm basically absorbing ions from the surface of the planet that help to restore the electrical potential to the body. This is called earthing or grounding.
Yeah.
And these are just like ancestral practices. It's like, well, no wonder you feel crappy. Like human beings, like for thousands or hundreds of thousands, or, depending on whatever you believe about the nature of the planet. Some people say millions of years, but at least for a very long time, we were outside a lot more, in touch with the surface of the earth, underneath sunshine, a lot more than we are now for the past 100 post-industrial years. So another thing would be minerals. Minerals help to carry a charge through the body. And, a lot of people will drink filtered water. A lot of people are salt phobic, but in fact, like good trace minerals, electrolytes, sea salts. No, I don't sell minerals at Kion. I'm just like into minerals as a way to charge up the body's battery. So, I salt my food pretty heavily. I put electrolytes into my big 32-ounce morning glass of water. And these are also ways that you can carry charges through the body. So stepping back, looking at just a few simple examples, get sunlight or get a red light therapy panel or bed or something that allows you to get photons of light on a regular basis. Get in touch with the surface.
I do
of the
infrared sauna almost every day. Yeah, I had no idea. I just, somebody said it.
Well, I don't know what sauna that you have, but the only thing with some infrared saunas is they don't have the red light spectrum. And the red light spectrum is one of the most powerful ones for producing the ATP, whereas the infrared heat is better for like detoxification. And there are some companies, like Sunlighten has a red light feature. Clearlight is also an infrared sauna, and they sell like a standalone red light that you can put into your sauna. So basically you would want beyond the infrared, which is largely invisible. That's why it doesn't feel like the whole thing's red when you're inside it, unless it actually does have red light.
I mean, mine's red. I don't know. All the lights are red.
Do you know what model?
I don't know off the top.
You might have a Sunlighten if it actually is red like that.
But it's like a zip-up bag. It's almost like
Oh, you have one of those that your head sticks out of?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, we have a real one that we're gonna have in the new house.
We got to get you an upgrade.
But right now in the rent, like we're in rental. That's what I use. But
all right. So and then like getting in touch with the surface of the planet. Well, you can also biohack that. Like I have a grounding mat that I stand on at my standing desk that's plugged into the grounding outlet of the wall that allows me to be grounded while I'm working at my desk. I don't know if you've heard of PEMF before. Pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. It'd be really good for your knee because it's great for injuries, but this like concentrates that frequency and almost puts it on steroids, so you restore the body's electrical potential super quickly. Like I take a nap or a siesta on a PEMF mat almost every afternoon just to recharge the body's battery. And the type of things that drain the battery, based on what I've just said, are probably the type of things that you'd expect. Lack of sunshine, lack of connection to the planet, lack of good clean water and minerals, and even exposure to a lot of what's called non-native electricity, meaning Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, smart appliances, smart home. That's not just like a free ticket to convenience. Like there is a biological cost to your cells constantly being bombarded with a form of electricity that we have no exposure to for most of humankind until the last several dozen years. And from a mechanical standpoint, what happens is when your cells get hit with those frequencies, it opens what are called voltage-gated calcium channels. Now, remember how I just said that for your body to be in proper electrochemical balance, there should be a slight negative charge on the interior of the cell and a slight positive charge on the exterior of the cell. Calcium, as a positively charged ion, rushes into the cell and puts your body into basically like a sympathetic fight and flight mode. And yeah, it's not like as sympathetic as a tiger, you know, jumping out from your garden bed in your back lawn or whatever. But it's like this low level stress that if you never give yourself a chance to step away from that, or you don't like get earthing and grounding and sunlight and certain things that help to offset that calcium influx, you do have like this low level energy drain during the day. And what I have a lot of like the not just entrepreneurs or executives, but anybody who I work with do is I tell them, well, if let's say you're not going to overhaul your whole house and your office and like plug everything in via Ethernet cables and put your phone in a Faraday cage and wear an aluminum foil cap. The bedroom is the one area of your home where, for arguably around a third of your life, your entire nervous system has a chance to repair and recover. So get your bedroom as close as possible to just like a dark, cold, electricity-free cave as possible. Meaning, like, you don't really have to have a TV in the bedroom. The phone should mostly be in airplane mode in the bedroom. I even have an Ethernet cable like port behind my bed, so if I want to use my phone in the bedroom, I just plug it in via an Ethernet to USB-C adapter. You can put what are called dirty electricity filters, which are just little plug-in outlet things that you can buy on Amazon in each outlet of the bedroom. And I recently had like a 2-hour walkthrough of my home because I recently built like the world's most advanced biohacked home in North Idaho and had a building biologist do a complete walkthrough of all of the stops that we pulled out. But if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, at least watch the bedroom part, because that's the area where your body gets a chance to restore its battery. So even though there's lots of things, testing your blood, your biomarkers, your genetics, your gut health, your DNA, the things that I have a lot of my clients do, I would say one of the best and simplest examples in response to your question is to think of your body as a battery and ask yourself, how often am I draining it? Literally draining it electrically. And what am I doing to restore that charge? And just that little step, if you're already moving well and eating well, can give you a noticeable uptick in energy that keeps you going until like 6 p.m. instead of 2 p.m. every day.
That's so cool. I got this watch, and it literally has a thing that says your body battery. And I've been looking.
Really?
I only got this a few weeks ago, and now
I wonder what it's measuring.
Every day I go check, and I'm like, oh, it's interesting, but it seems to line up.
It's probably like your what's called your heart rate variability.
Yeah.
Like I'm wearing the Whoop right now, and heart rate variability is not how fast your heart's beating, but it's like the amount of time in between each heartbeat. And paradoxically, like there shouldn't be an even amount of time in between each heartbeat. There should be mild beat-to-beat variation, like a delta. So there should be like a beat in 1.1 milliseconds and a beat in 0.8 and a beat in 0.9. And what that means, if there's a high amount of variability, a high amount of heart rate variability, abbreviated HRV is how a lot of people know this, that means that your nervous system is talking to your heart in a very coordinated fashion. It's basically triggering the pacemaker cells of your heart in the way that it's supposed to. And if you measure that, which a lot of these wearables do a pretty good job of doing, and it's high, that can be a very good sign that you are doing a good job keeping the body's battery levels topped off. So like high HRV on a consistent basis, which I don't see very often in the people that I work with, at least not initially, that can actually be a really, really good way to check without giving blood about whether a lot of these things are actually working.
I love that. So on that note, as we wrap up, where should people go if they want to work with you, they want to find out more about what you're doing? Obviously, you have the podcast, but what else? What should people do if they want to follow you more?
This is probably the first time in a long time I've been asked this question, and I'm really nervous about how to reply after having learned everything I've learned from you the past 2 days. I'm like, wait, what's the QR code or the call that? Should I be sending people to a quiz right now, or like a lead magnet? I don't know. So bengreenfieldlife.com is my website, where you can basically click through and get access to my coaching programs, my books. What I'm pretty excited about right now is we also just launched the Life Network at joinlifenetwork.com, which is like a community where there are spaces that I've certified. You can go work out and eat, and you can interact and have unlimited phone calls with like an AI web clone of me. And if you don't want to hire me to have an actual phone call, and we got 30 different experts and a growing number of biohackers and physicians and scientists in there doing AMAs and Q&As and leading workouts. So it's kind of like, I saw the writing on the wall that when it comes to technology and getting healthier, there needs to be a community play. So I created Life Network for that. And that's actually the most recent part of my business that I launched is Life Network. So I would say bengreenfieldlife.com and joinlifenetwork.com would be the two best places to find out what I'm doing.
Very cool.
Yep.
Well, Ben, thank you for sharing the story. Thank you for your commitment to exploration, innovation, data, measuring that, the balance of science. Everyone knows I'm a hardcore Bible thumping Jesus freak, and just but just like I love the way that you go about modern medicine, and also naturalist, and it's like ancient wisdom, and also like modern things. So people definitely got to follow you. Go tell Ben hello online. Check out his podcast. Clearly it's fascinating stuff. And brother, I'm so grateful for our friendship, and
Thanks,
hey, excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, I could talk to you forever. Make it easy. Thanks.